For 40 years, one man lived behind a lie so perfect that even his own family buried an empty coffin. In 1944, a Japanese soldier vanished inside the dense jungles of Guam. Search parties found nothing. Fellow soldiers swore he was dead. His government confirmed it, his family held a funeral. But what the world didn't know was that the dead man was watching it all happen from the trees. This is the true story of Shoichi Yokoi, the soldier who pretended to be dead for decades. Shoichi Yokoi was born in 1915 in Aichi Prefecture, quiet, shy, and obedient. He was shaped by a culture that taught loyalty above life, silence above doubt, and honor above survival. When he was drafted into the Imperial Army, he entered a world where discipline ruled every breath. First, he was sent to Manchuria, then to the Pacific. In 1944, Yokoi arrived in Guam, one of Japan's outer defensive islands, but by then the war had already turned. American forces were closing in. Japan was outnumbered, outgunned, and running out of time. The battle for Guam erupted with overwhelming force. Entire regiments were crushed within days. Thousands of Japanese soldiers died. Thousands more surrendered. But for men like Yokoi, surrender was not an option. The imperial code engraved into his mind declared it better to die than to give oneself up to the enemy. So when the U.S. captured Guam, Yokoi and a handful of surviving soldiers disappeared into the jungle. Their final order was simple: do not surrender, ever. At first, Yokoi hid with 10 men. They scavenged vegetables from farms, trapped small animals, drank from rivers, and built crude shelters from bamboo and palm leaves. But the jungle was merciless. Hunger, disease, and isolation began to erode their numbers. By 1948, only 3 remained. By 1950, only Yokoi and 2 comrades were left alive. One morning, as the river washed debris from the ocean, Yokoi found a leaflet. It said, "The war has ended. Japan has surrendered." For the first time in years, he hesitated. But discipline spoke louder than reason. Everything he had ever been taught insisted this was an American trick. He burned the leaflet and returned to the shadows. The world had changed, but he refused to believe it. By the early 1950s, the last surviving group of 3 dug an underground shelter. The entrance was hidden beneath vines and deep jungle plants. Inside, they carved out a space no larger than a coffin, reinforced it with bamboo, and covered it with soil. This dark hole became Yokoi's home for nearly 2 decades. He crafted clothing from the bark of hibiscus trees. He made traps from vines and bamboo. He survived on snails, rats, shrimp, and whatever the jungle offered during moonless nights. He never lit a fire. The smoke might give him away. Years passed. One of his comrades died of starvation. The other succumbed to illness. Yokoi buried them both with his hands. From then on, he lived alone, not for months, not for years, but for more than a decade. While the world outside entered the jet age, built skyscrapers, sent men to the moon, and transformed Japan into an economic giant, Yokoi continued to believe it was still 1945. His life became a ritual of silence. Wake before dawn, check traps, collect palm fibers, repair clothing, retreat underground at the faintest sound. For him, the war never ended. In his mind, danger was everywhere. Death approached whenever he let his guard down. So he never did. On the night of January 24, 1972, 2 local fishermen, Jesus Duenas and Manuel de Gracia, were walking along a river on Guam when they noticed footprints, human footprints. They followed them carefully until the bush trembled. A thin, bearded man burst out holding a handmade spear. He tried to attack, but decades of malnutrition had weakened him. The fishermen subdued him and carried him back to their village. The ghost of Guam was alive. News exploded across the world. Newspapers printed his name in giant letters. Japanese soldier found after 28 years. Living World War II soldier returns home. When Yokoi arrived back in Japan, he expected punishment, shame, court-martial. Instead, he saw crowds, thousands of people cheering his return. They saluted him, praised him, embraced him as a symbol of endurance and loyalty. He bowed deeply and said the line that would become legendary, "It is embarrassing that I returned alive." In the years that followed, Yokoi married, wrote books, gave lectures, and lived a quiet life. His jungle cave was preserved as a historical site. Yet he never abandoned the habits that kept him alive. He gardened daily, he sewed clothing at night. He kept food carefully stored. Every action was shaped by decades of survival instinct. He passed away in 1997, leaving behind not just a story of war, but a story about belief, the kind of belief that can shape a man's destiny, trap him in time, and turn a soldier into a shadow. Yokoi once said, "We must learn from the past, and we must never again be so blinded by obedience." His life is a reminder that history is not only written on battlefields, but also in the long silence that follows. Thanks for watching. If you were inspired by the story of the soldier who pretended to be dead for decades, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more tales of legendary warriors.